Respect isn't a vibe, it's a practice. Not a moment of charisma, not a perfectly timed message, not the thrill of unpredictability. Respect is earned in the quiet, unseen spaces of your daily life. Think about it. People may be drawn to mystery, but they stay for consistency. Anyone can make an impression once, but only those who show up the same way over and over again build trust and respect. It's not the grand gestures that anchor respect. It's the rituals, the way you carry yourself each morning, the way you maintain your standards even when no one's watching, the way you don't flinch when chaos knocks. While everyone else chases short bursts of validation, the person who builds rituals commands silent authority, not because they demand it, but because they embody it. This isn't about being rigid or controlling. It's about building a rhythm so steady that it becomes magnetic. People may not be able to explain it, but they'll feel it. Respect gravitates toward those who don't just talk about their values, but live them.
In comes Confucius. In a world of shifting loyalties and fleeting attention, Confucius didn't speak about power as domination. He spoke about rituals. For him, rituals weren't empty formalities. They were the scaffolding that held civilizations, families, and relationships together. He believed that respect isn't built through force or demand, but through daily acts that reflect inner order. When a man or a woman moves through life with internal structure, they create an external sense of harmony. People feel it, even if they can't name it. Confucius spoke of Li, the rituals and proper conduct that shape character. These weren't about superficial performance. They were about embodying something deeper. Your actions become your presence becomes your authority. Rituals don't make you stiff, they give your energy form. They separate the volatile from the dependable, the immature from the grounded, the fleeting from the unforgettable. Every day, whether you realize it or not, you already follow rituals. Scrolling before bed, checking messages in the morning, reacting impulsively. But what if you flip that? What if instead of being shaped by chaos, you built small intentional rituals that told the world, I lead my life? Confucius understood this. When your inner world is ordered, the outer world follows. Respect flows naturally toward the one who doesn't need to prove themselves. They simply are.
Respect is not an emotion. It's not something you get by chance, or by having the right look, or by saying the perfect words. Respect is engineered through structure. It's the natural byproduct of how you show up every single day. When you look at people who naturally command respect, you'll notice something subtle. They move with rhythm. There's a pattern to their presence, a way they speak, act, and live that creates a gravitational pull. They don't need to demand respect because their rituals make them undeniable. Most people misunderstand respect. They think it comes from charisma or confidence, but charisma is a flame, hot, exciting, but temporary. Ritual is the hearth, steady, reliable, and warm. When people encounter someone who lives with rituals, they instantly sense stability. And stability, especially in a chaotic world, is magnetic. This is why the quiet man with strong habits often has more power than the loud one with only words. His actions have rhythm. His energy has weight. He doesn't move faster to prove himself. He moves with intention. Rituals are essentially small, repeated commitments to your values. They are the invisible architecture of authority. Every time you wake up and hold a boundary, follow your principles, or maintain your standard, you're not just building a habit, you're broadcasting a signal. That signal says, I don't need your chaos to define me. I define me. Respect responds to that signal. It bends towards structure. Think of someone who sets clear rituals for how they live, when they work out, how they eat, how they speak, how they treat others, how they don't tolerate disrespect. Their energy becomes predictable, but not boring. It becomes reliable. People trust what they can count on. They lean into what feels steady. And respect can only exist where trust has roots. In relationships, this becomes even more powerful. When you don't flinch at emotional storms, when your mood doesn't depend on her mood, when your actions reflect your internal code rather than external pressure, she doesn't just look at you differently, she feels you differently. Your rituals create a container, and inside that container, attraction deepens and respect solidifies. This doesn't mean becoming robotic or detached. Ritual isn't about rigidity. It's about alignment. It's about making sure that the way you live reinforces the value you claim to have. If your words say, "I value respect," but your actions are inconsistent, the world will mirror inconsistency back to you. But when your life is structured like a rhythm, steady and intentional, you stop chasing respect. Respect starts finding you. And here's the deeper layer. When you build rituals, the respect you get isn't just from others, it starts from within. You begin to respect yourself more. You look in the mirror and see someone who doesn't fold under pressure, someone who honors their own word. Self-respect is the foundation of external respect. People can sense when you stand on solid ground. And the moment you do, the world stops pushing as hard because it realizes it can't shake you. Rituals aren't glamorous. They don't get applause, but they build the kind of quiet power that doesn't fade. And in a world addicted to instant highs, quiet power is irresistible. Respect doesn't come to those who demand it. It comes to those who become it through what they repeatedly do.
You've probably felt it before. That quiet, unsettling moment when someone looks at you, not with admiration, not with trust, but with a kind of unspoken doubt. Not because you said something wrong, not because you're unworthy, but because something about how you show up doesn't hold weight. It's subtle. When your energy is inconsistent, people don't say it out loud, but they feel it. Maybe you've noticed this in your relationships. One week, you're focused, disciplined, magnetic. The next, you're distracted, reactive, bending around her moods or external chaos. She senses it. Everyone does. And slowly, almost invisibly, the respect begins to erode. It's not a dramatic moment. It's death by 1,000 little inconsistencies. You say you'll call at a certain time, but you don't. You say you'll hold a boundary, but you bend. You say you're working on yourself, but skip the habits that once gave you power. At first, she still sees your potential, but over time, she starts to feel the cracks. And here's the part that stings. Once respect starts to fade, so does desire. Because respect isn't an accessory in attraction, it's the spine of it. Maybe you've been there, feeling like you're doing everything to be good enough, yet she doesn't respond the same anymore. You start over-explaining, chasing, adjusting, trying to recreate a feeling that can't survive without structure. And deep down, you know it. You know the version of you that commands attention isn't the one begging for it. It's the one anchored in something real. The truth is, most people think they're being disrespected because others are cruel or careless, but often it's because we stop respecting ourselves first. We get sloppy with our rituals, our word, our center. When you don't have an internal structure, your presence becomes like loose sand. People can step on it, but they can't lean on it. And no one truly respects what they can't rely on. But remember, this isn't about shame. It's about awakening. Because the moment you decide to build rituals again, those quiet daily practices that anchor your presence, the shift is undeniable. You'll notice how your voice feels steadier, how you don't over-explain, how the room subtly starts to respond to your rhythm again. Respect is felt before it's spoken. And people, especially women, Respond not to your potential, but to your pattern. You've probably seen this in others. That one person who walks in with a quiet steadiness. They don't need to prove anything. They just are. And everyone adjusts around them. You can be that person. Not by forcing power, but by living in rhythm with it.
Here's the quiet truth most people overlook. Respect isn't built in the heat of the moment. It's forged in the quiet spaces between, the small rituals no one applauds, the consistent patterns that slowly teach the world how to treat you. We live in a culture obsessed with intensity. We're told to make a strong first impression, to be charismatic, to command respect. But the respect that lasts doesn't come from a single display of strength. It grows from an invisible foundation, one you build every day, long before anyone's watching. Think of the people you respect most. They rarely need to demand it. They don't plead. They don't chase. Their very existence communicates structure. You feel it in the way they move, how they speak, how they carry themselves. And beneath it all, there's rhythm, a set of quiet rituals that anchor their identity. That's the paradox most never grasp. Respect is less about performance and more about predictable gravity. When you move through life with structure, people sense it, just as we instinctively sense weakness in uncertainty. Ritual is not a cage, it's a spine. It doesn't make you rigid. It gives you something to return to when the world tries to pull you out of yourself. When she tests your boundaries, your rituals keep you from begging. When life shakes you, your rituals hold you steady. When desire grows chaotic, your rituals give it form. And this is why relationships crumble when ritual fades. Without structure, even the most passionate connection begins to rot beneath emotional entropy. When there is no consistent rhythm, attraction becomes erratic, trust weakens, and respect slowly drains away. The real revelation here isn't that rituals create respect. It's that rituals reveal whether you have it for yourself. Respect isn't something others give you. It's something you project through the way you live. When you keep your word to yourself, consistently, quietly, something in your energy shifts. You no longer cling to validation because your foundation doesn't depend on anyone else's approval. And people, especially women, feel that difference. This is the paradox. The moment you stop chasing respect and start living it through daily ritual, the world starts to mirror it back to you. Because ultimately, respect isn't earned in grand moments. It's won in repetition.
Here's where this idea becomes real. It's one thing to understand that respect is built through ritual, but another to actually live it. This isn't about perfection. It's about quiet, consistent action that signals to the world, I take myself seriously. Think of ritual as the architecture of self-respect. When your days have rhythm, your presence stops being chaotic. You stop reacting to every emotional current and start anchoring your own. That's what makes people respect you. Not loud displays of confidence, but steady gravity. Let's strip away the noise and get practical. Start with micro-rituals, not grand transformations. This could be as simple as getting up at the same time daily, taking 10 minutes each morning to reflect or train your mind, setting and keeping clear boundaries around your time, saying no when something violates your standards, showing up the way you promised yourself you would. These aren't just habits, they're signals. Every small ritual tells your nervous system, I matter. My word matters. Over time, this rewires your entire relationship to power. Why? Because when you consistently keep promises to yourself, you become harder to manipulate. A woman can sense whether your center lives inside her approval or within your own spine. Ritual builds the latter. A man without ritual is easy to sway. His energy follows the loudest emotion in the room. A man with ritual isn't trying to dominate, he simply can't be pulled off course so easily. And that difference is magnetic. Here's the paradox most don't see. When you anchor yourself through daily rituals, you no longer need respect from others. You embody it. And ironically, that's when others naturally give it. Ritual is the bridge between theory and power. You don't need to announce your worth. You just need to live it in quiet, disciplined patterns. When you do, everything about how you speak, stand, and respond starts to shift. Your boundaries become clear, not because you're shouting them, but because they're woven into how you live. And no, this doesn't make you rigid or predictable. It makes you unshakable. So start small, one ritual, one anchor. Because respect isn't earned in one big moment of dominance. It's carved into your daily life like grooves in stone. People may not consciously notice these rituals, but they feel their gravity. And when they feel it, their behavior toward you changes. That's the power of quiet structure. That's how respect is built, not demanded.
Human beings often talk about respect as if it were some mystical force, something we either receive or don't, something we hope others grant us, like a blessing. But true respect is rarely spontaneous. It is built, brick by brick, through the quiet repetition of consistent behaviors, through rituals. Rituals are the anchors of stability in a chaotic world. Think about it. In moments when everything around us feels unpredictable, the human mind instinctively craves something fixed, something it can depend on. Rituals, even the smallest ones, serve as signals to ourselves and to others. This is who I am. This is how I show up. When someone sees you carry yourself with steadiness, showing up early, greeting people the same way, listening with full attention, taking responsibility for your actions, their perception of you transforms. It's not just that they admire you in a fleeting way, they begin to trust you. And trust is the foundation on which respect is built. Philosophers throughout history understood this deeply. Confucius spoke of Li, ritual propriety. To him, rituals weren't empty gestures or mechanical routines. They were deliberate acts that cultivated order in the self and harmony in the world. By repeating rituals, individuals didn't just follow rules, they became disciplined, grounded people. And over time, society respected them not because they demanded it, but because they embodied it. This is the paradox most people miss. You can't command respect, you must ritualize it. A person who drifts through their days without structure is like a leaf in the wind, easily swayed by mood, impulse, and distraction. One day they're passionate, the next they're absent. One moment they're committed, the next they're careless. No one knows which version will show up. And when people can't predict your presence or your character, they won't invest their respect in you. Rituals solve this. They transform your identity from someone who hopes to be respected to someone who commands respect through presence. Morning routines, how you enter a room, the way you treat others, the standards you uphold for your own behavior. These are not just details, they are signals. Over time, these signals grow louder than your words. Someone might disagree with your opinions. They might even dislike your choices, but they can't ignore your consistency. And in a world full of noise and chaos, consistency is magnetic. It silently says, you can rely on me. And here's the deeper layer. Rituals don't just change how others see you, they change how you see yourself.
When you commit to rituals, you stop waiting for motivation or approval to act. Your rituals move you forward whether you feel like it or not. They shape your posture, your tone, your rhythm. You begin to respect yourself first, and self-respect radiates outward. Rituals build identity. Identity builds reputation. Reputation earns respect. The beauty is that this doesn't require grand gestures. It's not about being loud or performing. It's about being steady. Every handshake, every word you keep, every boundary you hold, every standard you refuse to lower. Over time, these acts form a quiet fortress around your character. People don't respect you for demanding respect. They respect you because you live in a way that makes respect the only appropriate response.
If you've been stuck in cycles of chaos, where moods dictate your worth and other people's approval shapes your day, it's time to build your foundation. Rituals aren't just habits. They are self-respect made visible. Share this video with someone who's tired of being pulled around by external forces. Someone who's ready to build something unshakable. Comment structure if you're ready to rise.